This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. Central Texas Life with Ann Harder presents Central Texas Events.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Central Texas Events. Ann Harder here, Dr. Hope Koch from Baylor University with us. And Hope is, you're just kind of a fitness guru. Besides being a professor in the Hankamer School of Business, the most popular professor of 2023, or distinguished professor. I'll get that right. Still, very popular professor. But part of your amazing story has to do with your fitness journey.
Yes.
And how you really got serious about it.
Yes.
Back in 08.
08, yes.
Yeah. And it has just grown to this. You just run all the time. I mean, how do you have to? Do you just run all the time? Because what we're going to talk about today are these upcoming events. They're like 11 amazing marathons, all kinds of runs, and you're going to do all of these.
Oh yes,
yourself.
Well, and I think your listeners should do them all
Right.
too, Lan. And that's why I've got them all down here, so that most of them are in Central Texas.
Right, and so we had the opportunity to visit on another podcast about how you kind of got into it. I mean, it's not, you don't just decide, okay, I'm going to run a marathon and just do that. So
Yeah,
you
right.
have to build up to it.
Yeah, so you do build up to it. So just kind of quickly, my exercise was 1994. It started out as a New Year's resolution. I joined a gym.
Yeah.
Kind of got around some fitness people. Married my husband, who is involved with fitness.
And having a partner to train with is good.
Well, yes, and somebody else that, like, we were both interested in that, but then we both got more serious, and so then in 08, when my mom died, I needed a way to deal with her death.
Yeah, the grief.
And at that time, Scott and White had started they wanted the community to be healthy. And so they brought in Jeff Galloway, a Learn to Run a Marathon. And I signed up for the Run a Marathon group in 08. And then that just grew to a lot more.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and a whole lot more from what I'm looking at it. But you were able to just kind of build your physique to a point where, just run one more minute.
Yes, and so the Scott and White program was with it was actually run walk and run injury free.
That's right. And for someone my age, that's a big concern.
Yes, yeah. So it's all about
not to fall.
Yeah, all about run injury free.
Yeah.
And so you guys, I really started this with run 2 minutes, walk 1 minute. And that got me to the Waco Marathon in 08, which I can actually tell you that is the hardest marathon probably in the world.
Really?
Like literally. So the Big Sur Marathon along Highway 1.
Which is gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Country, yeah.
And it's considered quite hard because it's hilly.
Right.
I did that. I ran that marathon. And then I got a lot of confidence because I compared the hills of that to the Waco Marathon. And Waco's much harder.
Really?
And we also...
You don't think about Waco being hilly necessarily, but
yeah, it is a hilly course. But the best races, actually, of all the ones I do, the best races are right here in Waco. So I would encourage, if you're from Central Texas, to do some of the Waco races.
You're a big fan, of course. Waco Striders, that's another good resource for folks, I'm sure. And then they want to, particularly if you're a beginner and want to get involved. Huh?
Yeah, and then it's that way your best friends in the world will turn into the ones to your running partners, because you run with them for hours and talk. You talk the whole time.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is that you're able to talk while you're running. I'm not sure I would be able to do that, but that would be. And so I guess what you would find when you would run or complete a race, what is that feeling like? You refer to a flywheel effect.
It's like a flywheel, and so everybody does this. You run, you complete a race, you feel amazing about yourself because you were able to do it. And what we all do is we go home and we go get online and we sign up for the next race.
Yeah, it does kind of become an addiction.
A bit of an addiction, and
is it because of the endorphins and all those kind of things that happen?
Yeah, so the endorphins, you feel really good about yourself. The energy from everybody from the races is extremely positive. And then so you kind of get used to having a goal that is more kind of a personal goal. And then I guess today we were just talking about, I'm talking about AI and all the anxiety at a session this afternoon. We have this always on with our work, and then we are probably also always worried about the work problems.
Right. Or something. There's something to be worried about. Yeah.
The races, actually, when you're in I hate to say this, the intense pain from the last part of a race, it actually wipes every problem from your mind.
That's right. There's nothing.
It's gone.
Okay, so since we're talking about this, what is the wall when you hit the wall? I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I've never experienced, but I've
and so it's kind of when you feel like you just like can't go
another step.
Yeah. But I can tell you, Anne, that I finish all my races.
Yeah.
And I can tell you I've never hit the wall.
Really?
And it's because, again, I started with Galloway, run injury-free, and I was running with a lot, Temple, you're running with a lot of doctors and nurses. That was my whole group.
And that's a good idea.
Yeah, and so you're running with, and I never hit the wall because they teach you to eat early and often. And so you have
nutrition is a big part.
It's a big deal.
Getting prepared and hydrating and all that.
Well,
stuff.
in the eat while you're running. You eat while you are.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Oh yeah. So that's part of your training. And in fact, one of the races coming up that I would encourage everybody to do is in Gatesville. The Fire Ant Bike Tour raises money, big fundraiser for their scholarships in Gatesville. But their home economics department makes homemade cookies.
Oh, gosh.
For every stop.
Now, that's a motivator.
Well, yeah. Well, see, I'm always on a diet except when I'm racing. and the sugar. So I've never hit the wall because
that's interesting.
Jeff Galloway tells you that you actually need the sugar because it keeps you from going negative.
Yeah. Okay, so you started out a runner, but when you decided to do a triathlon, that's when you got to put the bicycling and the swimming components in. How was that?
So I didn't want to spend a lot of money on a bike. Again, I'm a teacher. So I got my husband's hand-me-down bike, and we fitted that for me. And I learned to swim in Cameron with the swimming lessons for the 5-year-olds. And I really thought that was sufficient until I started training for the triathlon and getting from one end of the pool to the other.
Yeah.
I was just worn out.
It's hard, yeah. Swimming to me is very hard.
It was so hard, and I was just like exhausted. So I had to my husband said, don't make the same mistakes he did. So he's like, you need to learn how to swim right. So I hired a swimming coach, which my coach, she was 15 years old, and she worked at the swimming pool, and she was saving for a car. Again, I was a professor at Baylor.
Hey, so you do what you got to do.
I was paying her to teach me. And then when I wanted to do my first triathlon, it was the Temple Triathlon, and it was the shortest triathlon in the state.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it was in a swimming pool. So I thought.
Oh, yeah. I promise you, jumping into Lake Brazos would scare me.
So that I made my way up to that.
Yeah.
With the
my hat's off to anybody that does that.
Yeah. So after several years of this pool swim,
right,
I actually attempted the Waco Triathlon. Again, I finished all my races.
Right.
But Waco does a great job with their races, but the Waco Triathlon, for safety, they have lots of kayakers.
Right. I don't know of any problem.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah.
Of anybody,
I may have
injured
been,
or
I may have been a
drowned or
problem
anything.
because I just swam from kayak to kayak and would just hang on the kayak until I could
Till
calm
you could
down.
recover and
Yeah. So I've gotten better.
So all the talk lately about alligators in the Brazos, is that worrying you at all?
I have really such trust in the people that run events at
Well,
Waco.
they'll be
in
more
Waco.
scared of you than you are.
Yes, and I think Waco won't have us swimming in the Brazos if the crocodiles are
If
really
the
there.
crocodiles are active. Well, let's talk about some of these others. Okay, May 27th is the next one. That's the Capital of Texas Triathlon.
Yes.
June 8th, you mentioned the Fire Ant. So this is just a bicycle race in Gatesville?
Yeah, and so yes, and I think that Gatesville's not far from Waco.
No, not about an hour.
It's right in Central Texas, and lots of Waco people do that one.
Oh, yeah. June 16th is the Tri-Waco. That's the big one.
Again, for all levels. And so they have longer and short ones.
That's
and
good.
Very well run.
Moving into September, the Waco Wild West 100.
Yes. But it doesn't have to be 100. So the Waco Wild West 100 is one of the best bike races in the country, and you can ride 100 miles, but you can also ride 12. And it's so there's all different.
That's good. I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah,
But
and
you
then
can sort of customize it too.
Yeah, so they tell you how far you can go, and then if you don't want to do this to the race coordinators, but if you get into a lot of trouble, you can also call the number and sag out. Get
Just
on
say,
the sag
I'm
wagon.
done. Yeah. October 5th, the Dana Peak Trail Run in Harker Heights.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the 6th of October. And you're doing back-to-back ones? I mean,
No,
I hear
no.
people doing back-to-back.
No. But so any like with your training, you would actually need to rest for a week.
That's what I
before you
thought.
did Ironman Waco. So my husband is doing Ironman Waco, and I'm going to do the Dana Peak Trail Run.
Okay, and then Barrow Volks bike ride in Salado. Salato's one of my favorite places in the world.
And it's in conjunction with Oktoberfest.
Oh, how fun.
So you ride.
Yeah, that's the 19th of October.
Yeah, and then and then afterwards they have pretzels and yeah.
The turkey trot. Of course, I always MC the Altruso turkey trot. It's always at Lake Brazos East, and that's a well attended.
It's so
run
good,
as
so
well.
good for families.
Yeah, it really is. That's November 28th. December 8th is the Bryan College Station half marathon and marathon. So again, you can do either one.
Yes, and they actually, with the money for that, they rescue children. They're in Africa. Wow. Yes, so it supports their
and so
Project
many of
Rescue
these
mission.
do have a charity component, which is wonderful. January is the New Year's resolution run. There you go. That's
in Temple.
Kind of going back to your roots there in Temple. And then in March you got the marathon. Okay, at Baylor.
And so I never miss the marathon. Raises money for scholarships. It's my very favorite race because the student group puts it on. So they have cheer stations, but they also have the Sikkim 6K. And the 13 miles they have prize money, but the Sikkim 6K you could even walk.
Yeah, so many great opportunities to get yourself in fit shape. And I guess, what's the best place somebody could go to get more information? Is there a clearinghouse for all these? We'll include these.
So I would say,
post.
your podcast, and because I've got this list with all of the different websites
and their websites,
and their different websites. But there's for the bike races, there's Wheel Brothers, and that has all the bike races in Texas. And then for the other things, you just kind of have to Google the race name. So it's all different websites.
Yeah. Well, this is amazing information. It's wonderful, and all the best to you in your fitness journey, as it's just so impressive and inspiration.
I want to see you at one of the races. I think try Waco.
Okay.
With the crocodiles.
Okay, we learned at the mentoring, don't be saying, I'm too old, which is kind of what I'm thinking, but I just might do that.
I think it could be a lot of fun.
It would be a lot of fun. I don't know. It would be good for me, for sure. Well, what's been good for me is to be able to visit with you for a little bit. Hope Cook, Dr. Hope Cook from Baylor University, and I guess you could be contacted at Baylor if somebody just has a question.
Just Hope Cook at Baylor, and it's Koch.
Koch, but pronounced Cook.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks
Appreciate
for having
you.
me.
Thank you for being with us on Central Texas Events, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.